got a feeling I'm going to be way too close to the camera. Let's see. Do you know what it's going to have to do? Because it's the first video back and it actually doesn't really matter. Hello, welcome back. I say welcome back. Welcome to my YouTube channel. It's exciting to be here. For those of you who ever did watch my videos way back when I did vlogs about a million years ago when I used to work for VW Physique, now Prep Coach UK, I used to make a weekly vlog every single week, and I've pretty much documented the entirety of the COVID lockdowns and then my prep for my last bodybuilding shows or my last bodybuilding season. And then after that, I just kind of like fell off the bandwagon of making YouTube content. I think especially I had intended to start recording videos about my recovery from hypothalamic amenorrhea, but it ended up being like a lot more difficult than I thought, and I just needed to pull back a little bit from social media, especially things like YouTube, and just other things took place. Like I started teaching, and then now I've stopped teaching, and now here we are making YouTube content again. So welcome back to my channel. I guess I wanted to restart making YouTube content purely because there's a lot going on in my life, and when I look back at some of the videos that I made when I was making vlogs, you know, way back, say during the pandemic and stuff, it's actually really cool to be able to watch them back and just see, you know, just the shit that I was talking about, the things that are on my mind. I hadn't even started my formal training as a psychologist back then, and now I'm a fully qualified psychologist. So it's just cool to be able to document these things. And I think especially now that I'm about to start prepping for my 4th Hyrox race, and that I'm in a position in my life where I'm dealing with grief in a very raw and real way, kind of following the loss of my mum less than 2 months ago, it feels important and meaningful to be able to, I don't know, come on camera, chat about these things a bit more, and I guess also just document the process of training for Hyrox in a bit more depth for those of you who choose to follow me, or for those of you who maybe don't even have social media, who care to look at what a sport and exercise psychologist who's also a coach does to train for the upcoming Hyrox race. So I guess I want to start with a bit of context, because for anybody who's followed me for any amount of time, you'll know that all behavior makes sense in context. Now, I last competed, I guess, in a Hyrox race on my own in March, and I did the Copenhagen race and I loved it. I trained really hard for it. The training for it came at a really good time because I'd been preparing for my final submission for my qualification in sport and exercise psychology to become a sport and exercise psychologist, and I was just going through a pretty like rough personal time. And then after March, I essentially decided to not train for any goals for a while. Now, this was in part needed, but also because there was a lot of uncertainty in my life. My mum had been ill for many years, and pretty much from the beginning of this year of 2025, I kind of had a feeling that this was probably going to be the year that she passed away. And so I knew even like going to Copenhagen was a bit touch and go. Like I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to go and do a race there, purely due to you know, hospitalizations and just things like that were happening in the background. And so not only that, but then I had my clients' bodybuilding competitions to attend and to support them with. And so since the middle of March, I decided to not train for anything in particular, but I knew that I'd be completing this Hyrox race at the end of September, kind of for a while, but there wasn't anything like in my immediate future that I was training for as such. I think that following my mum's death in June, I needed a bit of time to just not really have to think or pressure myself into training. And I mean, I kept, during the like last stages of her illness, I did keep training. To be fair, the gym kept me sane. It kind of gave me some space to just mental digestion. I was going on lots of long runs, especially because I'd kind of, you know, temporarily moved back to my hometown, and it was coming into the spring and summer, and it was nice to just be able to get out and move my body. And then following her death, I kind of tried keeping consistent with some form of movement on a regular basis, but it was hard, I think, because moving and exercising kind of brings you into contact with shit that's there. At times I feel quite apprehensive about either going for a run or going to the gym, purely because it, you know, yeah, it kind of felt like a bit of a risk, you know, what am I gonna feel? What am I gonna end up thinking about if I do this right now? So anyway, I then had 2 amazing holidays in July. I went to Greece for my 30th, which is incredible. I can't believe I'm 30 though, what the fuck. I still feel the same age as I was right before the pandemic, or like during the pandemic, which is kind of crazy. And then I went on a trip with my friends from home because we all turned 30 this year. So that was absolutely brilliant. So it's kind of meant that in the last 7 weeks, I've only really had what feels like 3 or 4 weeks of work max. And it's meant that training has been quite sporadic and inconsistent, which to be fair, I needed. It's been quite good for me. And then I got back from Madrid on Wednesday last week. It's Monday today as I'm filming this. And it's just been a process of getting back into it. I've done a couple of workouts last week, and now I feel like I'm officially in the thick of Hyrox training. So I'm officially 7 and a bit weeks out, which is incredibly exciting. Now I know I'm talking about Hyrox like everybody knows what it is, but most people don't know what it is. Probably for the better, because once you kind of get into it, it's a bit like a cult, you know. It's the kind of thing where it's the opposite of Fight Club. If you're doing Hyrox, you have to talk about it all the time, at any occasion that you can find. Essentially, a lot of people call it like a downgrade from CrossFit. For those of us who are into it, it's essentially just like a race that's structured, that repeats itself at every iteration. So it's an 8-kilometer run, which is split into 8 times 1 kilometer loops of the arena, and then you go in and you have to complete 8 stations. So essentially you run a kilometer and then you go into like the middle bit, which is called the rocks zone. So cool. Apparently Hyrox stands for hybrid rock star, which is disgusting. But anyway, you go in and you do like, I don't know, the ski erg, you have to pull a sled, push a sled, row, do burpee broad jumps, which is disgusting, carry, you know, kettlebells, do wobbles, all the sort of things. So it's a standardized race, and people can complete it either on their own, or they can do it in pairs, and they can do it in same-sex pairs or in mixed pairs. Now I've done 2 solo races. I completed one in Glasgow in 2024. I completed the one in Copenhagen in this year, in 2025, and then in November 2024 I did Hyrox with my friend Morgan in Paris, and that was awesome. And then I'm completing this upcoming race in Oslo with Jack, with my husband. So that's pretty freaking exciting. So that's what Hyrox is, for those of you who don't know. I think I'm really excited about completing this race because in doing it with somebody else, the approach is completely different. The expectations are completely different. It really is just an excuse to travel to Norway and just chuck a fitness race in between, and just a process of being able to do something together, which feels really important at the moment and quite timely for both of us, especially given the fact I spent 2 months pretty much in my hometown and saw Jack for a total of like 4 days or something like that, and then of course like going away in July and things. It's just, it feels important for us to be able to do something like this together and to connect through exercise with something that I guess has been not just mine, but something that's been really important to me for a long time. And to be honest, my main goals for this race is just to have fun. Yes, the training is something that I'm going to take seriously, and yes, I'm going to push myself as much as possible, but at the end of the day, we're completing this together, and it's not just about me pushing myself and going hell for leather. It's just about keeping myself consistent, getting myself back into a routine of training, and just essentially combining the training with my work pace, because I feel like it's just been a bit all over the place for the last year. Well, understandably so. I think it is also feeding into thoughts that I've got about, you know, doing another Hyrox on my own next year. I'm kind of looking at doing the one in Bilbao in February, which would be quite exciting because that's relatively close to where I grew up and where I live. That would be quite nice to do, and that would be a new country to complete another Hyrox in. But I think the other main thing that I'm wanting to work towards next year is doing something like a last person standing race. But more details on that to come eventually. So at the moment, my approach to training is, I mean, it's all taken care of by my coach, Tom. So shout out to Tom Hall for being fucking awesome and coaching me for the last nearly 2 years now, which is absolutely crazy. I think we're going to be weight training twice a week, running 2 to 3 times a week, and doing a couple of Hyrox WODs in between, either like after weight training session or a standalone sessions. And obviously, because I'm doing this race with Jack, there'll be sometimes that I go for runs with him or that we go to the gym together, but it is mainly going to be him following his own training program and me following my own training program, and then just coming together to train for a couple of bits and bobs, even practice things like transitions within the race itself and move forward from there. I would really like to keep up these vlogs and make them a regular occurrence. Ideally, I'd like to be making one of these once a week, but I don't want to make any promises, but I do want to commit to this because it does feel important. And I think especially in this era of like very quick consumption of media and blah, 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 I've always enjoyed longer format content. You know, for those of you who've found this YouTube video from my newsletter, from my weekly emails, you'll know that I do love to kind of expand on ideas, and I feel like sometimes just Instagram or TikTok and things like that just don't give me the capacity and the space to be able to express myself. And I think there's something really nice about being able to watch somebody just chat shit half the time, but it just gives you a sense of getting to know them a little bit better. Some of the people that I watch on YouTube, or anybody who I have an interest in, I do enjoy watching their YouTube just because it kind of gives me a better sense of who they are and a sense of who they are out with the quick formats of like 30-second Instagram reels or a minute Instagram reels where they're maybe not able to fully expand or express their ideas. So I'm sure there will be more than just me talking about my training in these videos as we go, but for now that's going to be the commitment that I made to myself, and I guess to anybody who chooses to watch these too. Anyway, I'm excited about committing to this, and I hope that you enjoy them. I hope that you look forward to watching these videos whenever they do come out. I hope you find them semi-entertaining at least. And if nothing else, just something that you can get in the background and listen to me talk utter shite most of the time, and share some of my training, share some of the struggles, yada, yada, yada. More than anything, I'm just looking forward to me having a bit of a vlog of actually how this training went. And I've regretted not keeping better kind of accounts of what I did for my previous Hyrox training processes, so I'm really looking forward to be able to document this for myself and for anybody who chooses to watch it. So thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers to that.